Hello and welcome to Say Hi to the Future, Ingenious Thinkers, a podcast aimed at highlighting the human side of ingenuity. With me today is Andre Smith, founder of Flip Floss, a revolutionary money management app that uses gamification, simulation, and animation to teach kids financial literacy. Andre Smith, welcome to Say Hi to the Future.
Hi, Ken. Well, thanks for having me. It's really great to be here, and I'm looking forward to the chat.
So Andre, let's start with how you even got here. I mean, I look at it, you've received a top 25 Canadian Immigrant Award, and it's given to immigrants or refugees who have made a significant impact on their adopted countries. So welcome to Canada and thank you. And
Thank
tell
you.
us about that journey.
Of course. Yeah, I came to Canada about 13 years ago, and when I just got here, I lived with a friend. I stayed on his couch. Canada for me was a big transition, dealing with the cold and navigating life here. And I was a student. I was going to York University doing my undergraduate degree in accounting. And started working in corporate and started volunteering at a local community organization, and that's when they asked me to teach kids about financial literacy. And I started teaching there, and I went to a few other organizations, and then in 2020 I got an award from CBC Toronto. It's the Community Champion Award. And my love and passion for financial literacy grew from then. I mean, there is a personal element to it, which I'll get into a little later on. But from that initial award from CBC, now bringing me to receiving the top 25 immigrant award, really exciting.
So that's cool. So take us back though. What made you think about Canada? Were you just looking for global universities and York stuck out, or was it like, no, I'd like to be in Canada for a specific reason, and then York stuck out?
So actually, a little bit of backstory. So I was going to the University of the West Indies in Jamaica, and they had a student exchange program there, and you needed a certain GPA in order to participate in that student exchange program. And so I was looking at the requirements, and Canada stood out because I sort of have some history with Canada because in 2009, I went to Hobima in Alberta on another exchange with cadets, and I really love the engagement that I had with the cadets. So I sort of had that background with Canada. So when I saw the different universities to choose from, that made Canada stand out because of the prior experience I had. York wasn't my first pick. It was actually U of T because that's where I did my student exchange program back in 2010. So I studied at UTM, University of Toronto, Mississauga, for a year. And after my program ended, I wanted to go back to UTM, but they were telling me that I needed to go back to do high school math. I guess because I never had calculus in my subject, despite the fact that I did really well during my exchange program. So for me, I didn't want to go back to do a grade 10 or grade 12 math. So I decided to go to York instead.
Well, UTM's lost.
Precisely.
Apparently. So we do a lot with UTM, so I'll still put it out there that some kind of catch up. And I remember when I went to grad school, there was, and I didn't actually go in Canada, but there was some catch up programs that they offered for things like calculus that not everybody took from each of the countries. So we'll see where UTM goes, but York is a wonderful school.
Amazing.
I got to ask you this though, when you came and you went to Alberta, was it in the summer or what time of year was it?
It was this summer. I believe it was the first week. If my mind served me well, it might have been August the 9th. If you're going to ask if it was
Okay.
cold, it was still pretty cold. For me, at least.
That's what I was thinking. If you went to Alberta in the winter and decided to come back, I'm like, okay, that's rugged, but
Come back.
anyway, Glad you're here. Glad you stayed, and congrats again on all that you're doing and providing here. The other award that I see you got was from the Bank of Montreal. It was the BMO Black Entrepreneur of the Year Award for technology. Let's use that as a bit of a segue. Does that relate to Flip and Floss?
Yes. So it's a combination. So actually, the issuing organization is Obsidy, but the award is sponsored by BMO. But it really encapsulates everything that I've been doing. So a big part of it is the app technology piece, and not only what we've built so far, but what we're planning to build for the future. And it also looks at the work that I've been doing. So like we've done quite a bit of work in the community, such as starting one of the first ever financial literacy programs for inmates. So we've gone in like medium, maximum, and low facility, working with inmates around financial literacy and just working with parents and kids. So it really looks at everything, but the bulk of the focus was around Flip and Floss, the app that we've built, and like I said, the direction and where we're gonna take the app.
Okay, so let's segue to that. What is Flip and Floss?
So let me actually put this out there because a lot of people don't know. So Flip and Floss is actually an acronym. So I'll tell you what the acronym is. It's Flip is for Financial Literacy and Investor Program,
Right.
and Floss is
Oh,
for leaders obtaining sufficient skills. And the reason I came up with that name is because I knew that a big part of really changing people's behavior around money had to do with mindset and culture. And in Canada, I was exposed to the concept of flipping as it relates to property. So you buy that property, you flip it, you make the money. But where
mhm.
I'm from, which is Jamaica, we talk about flossing, which is more celebrating and wasting money and spending it. So I took those two concepts and put them together so that we can get people to flip, but then we want to change the perception around flossing and what people do with the money when they flip.
Very cool. I didn't see that. Do you share that on your website?
It's not currently on our website. I've shared it in a couple of interviews, but we're actually
Okay.
redesigning our website, so maybe there will be an opportunity to put that there.
It's a great story because I was going to ask you like where the name came from. So that's a great story. But anyway, go ahead. So first of all, when I heard about it, one, I think it's great financial literacy for children or for kids. I was kind of hoping you were going to tell me that they'd find a way to pay for their activities and drive themselves to them. But I still like your idea.
Appreciate it.
So what is it? Innovative. Tell me about what it really does for kids in their future.
Absolutely. So on the kids side, uh, the current version of our platform, like you mentioned earlier, so it uses animation and gamification along with simulation. A couple of things that is done. So it helps to teach kids crucial money management concepts like how to invest, teach them about debt management, teach them about savings and spending and things like that. But it also simulates certain behavior around the concept of credit. So, for example, kids can go on our platform, they can complete chores and tasks. Those tasks, they're assigned to a simulated credit score. The idea is to teach kids about the concept of credit. So whenever they are not performing, it affects their simulated credit. The other piece is it facilitates conversation with kids and their parents, like how to negotiate. So, for example, if a child is not able to complete a task on time, there is a feature that allows the child to speak to the parent and to provide a rationale. So, we want to help kids around rationalizations and things like that. And the other component to the app, we have a fundraising tool that allows kids to raise money for important milestones. And we're working with
Hmm.
parents and to help young kids to become entrepreneurial, right? So we have workshops that teach kids these critical skills, but we also want them to get into the habit of fundraising toward important goals, and those are some of the essential skills. But once we start looking at the next version of the app, we're going to be having features like that allows kids to leave university debt free. Part of it is that fundraising tool, but we're creating AI assist as well that will work with a child up to when they graduate university. And the primary objective of that is to help every child to have a debt free start to life while securing a certain sum of money to invest in their future.
Yeah, just double click for me on the fundraising part. I didn't quite understand that to be part of the app. So what kind of milestones are the children raising for?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've realized in Canada, and I mean this is true in most developed countries, is that the average child receives about $2,000 worth of gifts every year. These are depreciating gifts. So what inspired that is the idea of encouraging kids. So for example, your birthday is coming up. Instead of asking for toys, right, they can ask for money that they can then use to invest in stocks, right? So that's a part of it. Instead of getting toys, they're raising money to invest. Another component is that, let's say a child wants to save money for university, right? They can send this link to family members that they can raise money. They can say, okay, my goal is to raise X amount of money to go in my RESP, for example. And that's why we're looking
Mhm.
at certain strategic partnerships to make it very easy for the kids and the parents to achieve those objectives. So it's now we're getting kids to get in the habit of managing money and using money toward more important things rather than putting money toward more depreciating things. Hopefully that clarifies.
Oh, it does. That's beautiful. I think it's an amazing way to save for years before for your education. So I love that. On the other side, you talk about investing. I mean, what are you able to teach kids about investing, and sort of what level can they get in at?
Yeah, great question. I mean, we currently work with kids as early as 3. So like right now we work with early on, for example. But we teach kids like certain basics around, like what is a stock, what is a company, right? Those fundamental pieces. In terms of the investing side, what we're doing, we haven't built this as yet, but we're gonna design an experience where kids can go in, they will be able to rationalize certain decision around investing, and essentially they'll be making a decision, but the parent would be the one actioning it. So the idea is to expose kids to like how to rationalize buying a stock, right? What is a stock? And they're making those decisions for themselves. So by the time they reach a certain age, the legal age, they're able to buy stocks. Because one of the things that I've seen, especially with adults, is like you will give them the information over and over, but when it actually comes to making that decision, they have a really hard time doing it. So we believe that if we work with the kids from early, help them to understand, the risk associated with making investment decisions, they'll be a lot more comfortable with actually making those decisions. So the idea is make it hands-on, fun and interactive for kids.
But I would imagine in some cases the parents don't have a strong level of financial literacy, or might not. So how does that work in tandem if ultimately they're going to be sort of co-investing, if you will?
Yeah, great question. So one of the things that we're really pushing right now is that we want to bring financial literacy back to the dinner table, right? Similar to other uh, conversations that are had, we want to bring the conversation to the table. So one of the things, for example, our app does, it allows parents to schedule financial literacy conversations at the table, right? Parents and kids can, assign course to each other. They can talk about the different topics. But this is where the other side of our business come in. We've delivered over 500 workshops in Canada, the US, and Jamaica. We're going to be delivering a lot more to actually help
Hmm.
with parents to be able to understand the basics so that they can deliver that financial literacy knowledge to their kids. And this is why I'm really excited about the program that I'm working on right now with Early On Ontario. That's exactly what we're doing in a number of early on location is working with parents, teaching them the fundamentals so that it's easier for them to facilitate those conversations with their kids.
So you've got this learning going on with parents and their kids, and I understand the benefit completely now, or I'm understanding it now.
Mhm.
How do you run this as a business? Where is your revenue stream? Like, is it through workshops, or like, let me put it differently. How does Flip and Floss become a sustainable, growth-driven organization?
Yes, that's a great question. So currently, we have two streams of revenue. So yes, one is through the workshop, right? So we've partnered with a number of organizations, and we've gotten sponsorship from financial institutions as well. And the other revenue model, we built a platform that's designed for schools. So we have teachers that are currently using the platform in classroom, and they pay us to use the platform. We're actually looking at scaling that in the US currently. When we start to roll out other key features on our platform, we will have a subscription model for parents where they can get greater value. And that value would be around things like leveraging AI, which I think hopefully we're going to be talking about today, and other things like helping parents to avoid fees, right? Because we realize that in Canada and the US, families incur billions of dollars in fees every year. And so that's one of the things that we're going to be doing, among other things, to create additional value for parents on the app to incentivize them to want to pay for, a subscription version of the app.
Okay, so the fees are for being part of the app and for a sort of continued learning experience.
So learning, we firmly believe that learning should be free. So learning will forever be free on Flip and Floss,
Okay.
right? So the courses and the engagement of the kids in learning activity, that will forever be free. But when we're looking at our AI advisor and the feature that allows parents to like save millions in fees annually, those might be additional features that might come at a cost to families.
Oh, so you mean those are fees on sort of financial transactions or using a broker? Is that?
It will be more like a subscription service. So we're all right. So I'm trying not to say too much here because we're still working on the model. So I'm
Oh,
trying not to.
okay. And we
Yeah.
don't have to go there if it's an issue. Like,
So we'll have a tier
okay.
subscription, probably like 3 tiers. And let's say the first tier is like $2 a month. The other tier, let's say 5 and 10. So they can choose one of those to subscribe to. And so that's where that revenue will come from, that monthly subscription.
Okay. The reason I'm pushing, and this doesn't have to go in, but the reason I'm pushing is there's one thing that about financial literacy or investing that really drives me nuts. And that's when, and I've heard it from my kids, I've heard from a lot of people, well, if I do it on my own, it costs a quarter of a point. And if I use an advisor, it costs me 1.5%. Why would I use an advisor? And I say to them, I don't care about the fee. I care about the net return. If the advisor can get me 12% less 1.5, that's 10.5%. If you're doing 7% less a quarter, it's 6.75. So you're off by whatever it was, 3.25, whatever the number is. And I really try to hammer that into them. With investments, it's your net return. With a company, when you build it, it's your net income. So I don't know if that's part of the things you teach, but I have this real bee about that misnomer and that advertising. If you can save 3/4 of a point by doing it directly, I said, well, not if you lose all your money.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that's where that's why the financial literacy piece is so crucial. Absolutely, that's something that we teach as well. The other big challenge I see parents having is this whole idea of risk. They don't want to lose all their money because either somebody that they know lost all their money, right? So it helps them to understand that not all investment is created equally, and having the knowledge, the more you know, the more you de-risk the situation because you understand how to make smarter decisions. So yes, definitely that, among other things, are some of the pertinent topics that we cover.
Perfect. So now let's go to AI and gamification.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with the kids side, and then I'll talk about AI and the parent side. So on the kids side, for example, we're looking at, like I said, we want to understand the persona of the kids. And the idea is to have an AI tool with the parents' consent that will help the student to leave university debt-free. So there are a few approaches that we have, one which will allow the kids to fundraise, pay for university. The other piece would be around monitoring progress while going through university and look at key metrics and indicators and create solution for the kids to get rid of debt before graduating. And let's say they graduate with some amount of debt, again, we'll help them to find solution to liquidate debt. So that's the what we're thinking around the AI piece for the student. On the parent side, we're looking at smart AI to like help parents to become better coaches, to be able to help kids understand, their money, looking at behavioral patterns, how kids are spending on the app, because a component of the platform is that kids will get access to their own debit card. So we want to look at behavioral patterns and to help parents to provide smart advice to these kids, right? Make it very easy for parents to do that. And then the other component we're looking at is that AI feature, like I mentioned, that will help parents to save billions of dollars in fees, right? That's currently a big issue for parents. And of course, maybe at some point, we'll probably look at using smart technology again to help parents to make investment decisions. That's something that I'm not ruling out, but those are some of the models that we are currently working on. So the idea, again, helping the kids, helping the parents, but helping the parents as well to work with those kids to make more intelligible decisions around money.
Very cool. Until kids can invest in the markets themselves, are you running sort of a pretend investment where they're actually not really buying stocks, but building a portfolio and it moves to the market?
Yeah, you got it right. So let's say, for example, they go into this simulated marketplace and they say, okay, I want to invest in Air Canada as an example. So they'll be able to rationalize why they want to invest in Air Canada, and they'll be able to select different indicators added to their portfolio, but they're not the ones making the actual decision. It would be the parent that would be the one making the decision if they decide to invest in Air Canada. But the parent will be able to see the rationalization from the child around why they decide to invest in Air Canada.
So will you ultimately be able to build a profile or help the child understand their own risk tolerance? Because I think that if you do that for 1, 2, 3, 5 years, whatever it is, until it's probably longer until they're old enough, you might be able to feed back an incredible, series of advice to the child.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're like I said, we're open to where the platform takes us, and like there's a lot of information that we will gather about from the different users, their risk tolerance. Again, that could be useful for parents or even for us as we're continuing our mission of educating people around like how to manage money, how to make financial decisions. So definitely, I think there's an opportunity there.
Very cool. Andre, boy, the time goes so quickly when we get into these discussions. And it's been a treat talking to you, Andre Smith, founder of Flip Floss. But before we go, and I think this really gets down to, in many ways, the crux of your passion here is, in what ways does financial literacy help youth break the cycle of generational poverty? Because again, in prepping for today, I think that is something that I don't know, you can correct me, but that's where your passion or that's where your drive came from, is to help everybody, as you say, start at least with no debt, to have an even start when university's done or college is done.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, for us, I mean, a lot of habits are formed in the house, right? It could be eating habit, financial habit. They all start in the household. And so our focus is to really help to change that, to help kids to start making smarter decisions, to be able to rationalize money. Even, in my culture, for example, when I say my culture, I'm talking about Black culture, Jamaican culture. The way that we even think about money and generational wealth is not the same as in certain other communities, right? Even though the platform is built for everyone, the idea is that we want to start to help people to make smarter decisions. So if there is no generational wealth that's handed over, right? Because a lot of parents, believe it or not, a lot of parents believe that, okay, it's, kids should take on a lot of debt, for example, to pay for their tertiary education. But we want to say to parents, that is not the case. If we can help every child to start university without student debt, then we're setting them up on the right path. But we also want kids to now understand and be able to break that cycle by making the decisions, but also if they decide to have kids, to have these healthy conversations with those kids around money, right? So that that cycle does not continue. For me, when I look back at my upbringing and my journey, if I had certain things in place, right, certain financial resources to support some of the decisions that I wanted to make, I would not have to take on so much debt. Like I had to take on significant amount of student debt to get life started. And it's almost like you're starting off with 10 steps behind compared to other students who have that luxury of just getting directly into pursuing what they want without worrying about paying significant student debt. In Canada alone,
Mhm.
debt is about 40 billion, and in the US, it's even worse. Right? So that's what breaking generational cycle looks like, setting up people, for success from the start.
I love that thought, especially as a way to end it. And what I love about it, it's not just opening the door for the child to go on to higher learning or higher post-secondary education. It's done based on learning a really important life skill, which hopefully they repeat, as you said, they have their own children and build generational wealth. I also think it helps to relieve a lot of emotional stress from parents because you work very hard. Many or most in Canada would see or appreciate college or university, but it's really expensive. And unfortunately, and through no fault of anybody, you can't always help as much as you want. So I think you're helping the child, but I think you're really relieving a stressor from a lot of parents who, as parents, we find we find a lot of reasons to be guilty about things we think we couldn't do for our children, but I think this is a very real one. So, you know what, Andre, again, you're the founder of Flip and Floss, helping support the development of financial literacy in children, and I think really supporting families as a
Yeah.
whole. Just thank you so much. And each and every award that you've earned, boy, do you deserve it. So continued success.
And the one thing I want to add as well, because yes, you're absolutely right. It's about helping families. And that was part of the reason why we conceptualized this earn as you learn. I didn't mention it earlier, where kids can earn flip dollars as they're learning on our platform. Because one of the issues we're looking at challenging is poverty in schools. We don't believe that students should be learning on an empty stomach. And so the idea of earning as they learn is that they can get these rewards on our platform that they can then use to purchase a meal in school or through one of our partners. That is something that's also very dear to the team at Flip and Floss as well. But thank you so much, Ken. This was really great talking to you. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the incredible work that we've been doing.
You're welcome. And again, I mean, so what we just heard, we'll add another layer. It's a community recipe for success. So thank you again, Andre Smith, founder of Flip and Floss, for being on Say Hi to the Future today.
Thank you.